bugs and they mutate every year.
Tom, you been out on your sled at all?
Yeah, I have a little bit. How about you?
Did I see you? I was in the groom the other day. Did you see me? Were you out the other day?
Horses club?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was waving to you.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
you look
waved to you.
back.
I didn't know it
You
was
know,
you.
you look right there. You're like, I'm getting away from that hillbilly.
Yeah, I was telling somebody yesterday was like the only day in the last 5 years we ever had that around here, isn't it?
Correct. Oh,
It was
totally.
a beautiful day
Beautiful.
with that kind of snow, you know?
And I was calling it, so Kirk, I just lost plus the fatigue with this hangover, like after, I just
Yeah.
look at him, I got in that groomer, it was enough, like a job to push down the pedal and drive that thing. I'm like, once you're out, you're like committed. You're like, oh man.
You didn't go across any ponds, did you?
No, you see that? What was that?
Wow, it was a little scary. You lucky to get out of there.
I'm surprised because I don't know. Is that how he did it?
You were over a pond, I guess, and went to the bottom, and the
Oh,
only thing sticking out of the groomer was,
The light, the beacon. Yeah, the other club, North. They
oh,
put
the
that
North
thing.
Club?
So ours had broke down, one of ours that way. So they called some Lions Collision, had a big enough one to move, to pull it up. Martin's or the town dragged it to the side of the road, and then they were going to pick it up. And they go, "Are you the same ones that just buried one in the pond?" And they're like, "No." They go, "Yeah, we lost one in the pond."
I didn't, that one you were driving the other night, is that Tucker?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
I bet you I saw 50 snowmen that went to Albion to groom the trails. And then there was two older sleds, like a young couple, each had a kid. So the wife had the kid in the front lap, like a little, real small, and then there was he was only like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. He was small. I can tell you what, he was kind of little kid sitting he was in the back of one of the little cutters,
Uh-huh.
Well, he went by and he's looking at the groomer, and I'm waving to him, he's waving, and Dad decides to give it a little gas. Well, this thing was like dog tracking. I'm like, that poor kid must like the wife's going like this, like trying to get his attention. That kid's in the back, and it's going. Look at what you know. I saw him go over the horizon. I'm like, oh man, he's not gonna have a good trip when Dad gets home. Thinking, hey, have a good trip. Never gonna get that thing again.
are we missing anybody?
Wes.
Just-
Where's Wes?
Wes isn't gonna make it.
Wes is in Virginia.
Yeah,
Is that where he is?
yeah, I didn't know where it
He
was.
got stuck at the airport.
Oh, he was the one from Florida. I didn't know it.
Yeah,
Eric is excused too.
Yep.
And George is.
Oh, Eric Watson was from Florida, wasn't he?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
that's where Wes was too. They were down there working on the energy storage lot together.
At least they weren't in Texas.
Yeah, that's true. Did you, do we have the latest NYSERDA? I was looking for it on here. You had that recently, right?
Mhm.
You have that.
Yep. Got it?
All right. Everybody be ready to start now?
No,
Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To get it right.
You did your homework. Thank you, Kirk.
So I don't know if we don't have an agenda, do we?
I didn't put one on.
Okay. Well, I put one together based on the the solar zoning changes. And I think everybody probably got the emails with we got three different, well, before we do that, let's find out who's on. Is there anybody on the line tonight? Sorry, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. Hey, Tom. It's Adam with AES. Teresa Baker from Whiteman, Earthman, and Hannah, our attorney. The
Okay.
line as well as myself for me.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So we probably should do the roll call too, so everybody knows who's here. You can do that, me.
Tom,
Here.
Les, is excused. Jean,
Yes.
John,
Here.
Kirk,
Here.
Kurt,
Here.
Steve.
Here.
George is coming later, and Eric Watson is excused.
So the two things that we planned on working on tonight were the solar zoning modifications and the energy storage law. We've been working on the solar modifications, and we got input from Labella Associates and the town attorney. And I just wanted to go through the changes if we could and talk about these, and then the objective would be to make a motion to send these to the town board for, make a recommendation to send them to the town board, and then these will have to go to the county planning board. And they'll have to be directed to the county from the town board.
Tom,
Is there-
is this considered a workshop?
Yes.
You can't do any of that in a workshop.
Recommendation?
Can't make a motion or anything like that. It has to be a regular meeting.
Okay. Okay, so we can talk about them. The first item is the fee for the construction of a USSES. Currently, our zoning has a fee for a special use permit and commercial building permit fee. And we looked into the other towns, and that's pretty much what Clarendon has. Shelby has a $2,500 fee initially, and then annual fee of $1,000. So anybody want to make a suggestion on how we should structure our fee that is for a commercial solar project?
I have a question. Is that fee go for all sizes?
Anything 25 kW and up.
Utility scale, solar energy is what it's for. Not the, I believe it's uses, right?
So the again, the question came up of whether or not we wanted to modify the fee and make it more or leave it the way it is.
Is our fee the same as that? I'm trying to find it here quick.
Yeah, I was trying to find ours too. Couldn't find it.
What's the purpose for the fee?
Just a building permit fee.
$1,000 permit fee?
So that's what Shelby has. They got a annual fee of $1,000 and a initial fee of $2,500.
Does that go to the town or to the zoning office? You know that?
The town.
That's for the town.
Clarendon's is based on, they have commercial, they base theirs on commercial buildings, and it's based on the square footage.
Currently, what is our fee? I'm not finding it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it too.
I don't,
We don't
I
have
don't
a fee.
recall us having the fee schedule because we referred that to the town board to figure out the fee structure.
Right.
Unless I was in the meeting, but we never
We
here
didn't do it here now.
discuss what we wanted to fee to, we directed it to them. That's my-
That's correct.
We don't have to make a recommendation on this, we don't want to. The fee is up to them.
I don't think we really are making a recommendation. If they want to change it, let them.
The commercial, I was gonna try to find the commercial building fee we had.
So this one, the initial fee, if I'm looking at it right, is $2,500, the ongoing shelter. And it was $1,000 each year or whenever it's renewable to determine, to cover the cost of inspectors, who will also be there for the various parts of the returns or any compliance.
Mhm.
Are you doing it right?
What if an issue comes up where we have to, the town has to hire a third party to come in and do an inspection?
Yeah.
But, okay, so is that a limit to $1,000?
Or such amount as the town may and determine to resolve to cover the cost of process of the review.
The special use permit is renewed every year, so I guess you have an opportunity to
Change it. I think that's what they're referencing. They give me 1,000 unless it's gonna cost us more than we can change. Some fees in addition to the building permit fees.
Well, no, I can't find theirs.
Well, I'm looking at Murray's and at Alabama's, and neither one has it in there. As to what theirs is. Must be a separate.
Steve, do you know if they had any workshops to discuss the solar proposals and fee schedules?
No.
I bet you we don't have them. See,
Got somebody on the phone, ask them what they paid around the country.
I can answer you. Well, so, we don't have that. I thought we talked about it before,
I do.
but George, we're talking about the solar zoning fees, and if we want to make a recommendation to the town board to, change that. Yeah, right now, it's just a commercial building permit, and a special use permit fee. Yeah, I don't have those fees. You look in this, in that part,
What part?
in the code.
I wasn't seeing anything in there. But I agree with Stevie, we did not set up an amount. We were gonna leave that up to the town board
Okay.
to, set an amount. Which we don't have to, we can make the recommendation, but, if you're looking for something, I don't think you're gonna find it,
Okay.
it's my opinion.
144. Well, you wanna move off of that one?
Yeah.
Okay, next is the current solar zoning, section 115, 350, 115C.
Three fifty and what?
350, 115. Looking at C.
Yep.
Yeah.
So C, we gotta modify this to say that they will be permitted only in the AR district, subject to special use permit and site plan approval by the town board with the recommendation of the planning board. Because currently it talks about the planning board. So, everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, the next one is the 350, 117A. And that one is note number 2. And Labella commented on this one that under 350-117, it talks about requirements for small-scale freestanding and ground-mounted solar collectors. And they questioned whether or not this applies to USSES. And my thought was if we insert the word requirements for small-scale solar freestanding and ground-mounted solar collectors, that would make it clear. Because they're questioning whether or not this is, if these rules that are outlined here in this section apply to USSES. And they don't. We got a clear definition of what a USSES is. But do you think we should add the word solar after small-scale solar freestanding?
After the anything.
Yeah.
Whole thing, solar.
This is all referring to small scale.
I mean, that they say, okay, trying to small scale, who's can, you're just gonna insert solar, the whole one.
Mm-hmm. Leave that alone, or
It'll make it more helpful for them to understand.
does you see any disadvantage in inserting that?
No, disadvantage.
Yeah, you insert it there, and then we leave it out somewhere else. And if you come back and say, well, we had it here, so we must not mean it here.
Small scale solar. We have a definition for small scale solar. In our We can make it read to our definition, small scale solar freestanding. Right?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah,
Alright. Alright, next one's 35119.
Can I ask a question if I could?
Yeah.
350-117, capital A8, talks about approval of the planning board subject to site plan review. Does that mean that the town board is only approving the utility scale project, or are they approving the smaller ones too?
351, what section is it?
350-117, but what number?
8.
8?
So they would be approved by the planning board.
Says installation on non-residential properties exceeding the size may be approved by the planning board subject to site plan review.
She's questioning the planning board approving it, not the town board.
So this is specifically for small scale solar.
You know, maybe before all of these, after the numbers of 350-16, 350-117, we ought to have in there small scale requirements for rooftop, and have it in there so they understand it's all small scale, not uses. I know it's redundant, but it would certainly take away a question of them coming back and saying, I know we know what we're saying here.
Yep.
But maybe that would clarify to everybody else if it's
Where
small scale or,
were you suggesting we do that besides in the heading on 35117?
yeah. That
Somewhere
one?
else besides the heading?
No, I just think in the heading, would say it's the requirements for that.
Isn't that what it says?
No, it doesn't. It says requirements for freestanding and ground mounted solar collectors. And we understand that it's all small scale, but why don't we put in there small solar requirements? We'll just put small solar in the front, or
That's what we just did, didn't we? We added small scale to the 350-17 heading.
Yeah, small scale solar, we added to that.
add to that heading, okay.
35117, yeah.
I'll get on board,
Good
sorry.
idea, though.
What's the Article 10 grade time? This was very time quote, Article 1.
Might be in that green book. I don't know if I got it in here. Oh, Article 10 is a site plan review. Yeah, Article 10 is all about site plan review.
So back to her question on that, should we be putting in on number 8, approved by the town board with us recommending by the planning board? Should that have to be anything different? It doesn't affect their building part, but the future of others.
Well, it's down to what the seems like it's down to what determines the small scale solar and what determines the USSES, because this talks about this total surface area on a lot, not to exceed the area of the ground covered by the building structure of the largest building.
Well, that's for small scale solar.
Correct, and that's what you were looking at. That's what you had questioned us on.
Yeah, no, my only question was, you indicate in number 8 that it's the planning board is gonna approve the small scale one pursuant to site plan review. And that's fine. I was just curious if you're moving to town board approval of it for the large scale, are you just gonna distinguish between the two? That's fine if you want to. I just wanted to make sure it's clear, if it is clear, if that's the way you go, that the large scale ones are approved by the town board.
Yeah, this statement, even though this number 8 falls in the small scale, it's really a statement that's referred to a USSES because it's a large scale project, and we have the wording here that's related to the planning board, and that wording should read town board, I think. Because when you get outside the thresholds of a small scale, you're in the USSES.
But you're still under small scale, number 8. You're
Yeah.
still under this heading.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. Because you're looking at 117, you just made it small scale solar requirements. And then you go down with A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's all small scale we have it underneath. Not uses.
Right, but number 8 says that installation on non-residential properties. The first part of number 8 talks about how big it can be on a residential property.
Correct.
And then it goes on to say that installations on non-residential properties exceeding the size may be approved by the planning board, but if it's on a non-residential property and it's exceeding the size, it's a commercial USSES.
But it can't be because
No,
we have it under
I
small
think-
scale.
I think you're reading that wrong. The exceedance is the area of the ground covered by the building structure of the largest building on the lot, measured from the exterior wall. So that's the exceedance that it's referring back to.
Doug?
So if this lot had a building, let's say that it had a garage, and they wanted to put solar there for electricity and stuff, it couldn't be installed in the garage. Nobody's living there.
Yeah, I kind of think that should say, just say town board then. They're deciding on all the other ones. Large ones.
This is not a large one, this is a small scale solar. Because we just changed 350, 117, that's what it's under, to read small scale solar requirements. So that's small scale, it's not uses.
Yep, I don't disagree with you, but
Okay,
it talks about installations on non-residential properties, so you could have a small scale on a non-residential property.
mhm.
But then it goes on to say exceeding the size.
It would, I think I'm agreeing with what, is it Susan? I don't know, has said.
Yeah, I think exceeding the size is not the amount of the wattage this thing is producing.
It's the size of the building.
It's
Size of the-
exceeding the size of the other building that's
Building
there.
that's on it.
Okay.
the
So it's
garage
referencing
or
the same
barn.
paragraph in the 8, so it's talking about exceeding the total surface area when there's not a primary residence.
Right,
Do we have the approval to do that at the planning board or is it the town? So I think it's still a small scale project, it's just the total surface area is out of whack. The building structure size.
Okay, well, if you go back to 350-115B, it talks about a site plan approval by the planning board. And that's related to freestanding or ground mounted systems.
So that should be town board as well.
Well, that's related to a small one though.
No, it says in excess. Right? B, right?
In excess of 25, but no residential use. Subject to the issuance of the solar system building permit.
Anything over 25 is a USSES, isn't it?
It is, but I don't know that we're mixing both that and the small to.
And the planning board approved the small scale systems or not? If they can, it's good the way it is. If they can't, it needs to be changed.
Well, doesn't B say that it's in excess of 25?
Mhm.
So that's bigger than it should be.
Yeah,
We're allowed to approve the ones that are under that.
Okay, we are allowed to approve the ones that are under that.
Correct.
So the 350-117 should stay in the planning board. A number on that 8 there. I'm not sure where you're looking.
Yeah, that should say the planning board still. But then we looked at 350-115B.
That should be in town board. It's in excess of 20.
That's right.
Right.
And I don't think we had that change being made anywhere.
The recommendation from the planning board?
the only thing
Yeah,
that
you can use the same verbiage that they already have highlighted there, you just include B in there too.
Right.
So 350-115B should say town board. Right?
But if you look at
Yeah.
the change, if we inserted that, they got a highlight, bit of balance sentiment. So C has the same thing, and they put a highlight there, it says to change to indicate town board jurisdiction recommendation from planning.
Yeah.
How can they catch C and not catch B?
Yeah, they did.
They might just not have highlighted it, you never know, right? Because you're right, it's right there.
now I have it 350, 115, yeah, C is highlighted. That makes
So
sense.
we want B included in there.
Yeah,
Just add
Same verbiage.
C and B,
Town
right?
board.
C and B.
Yeah.
Agree with those.
All right. 350-119 is the next one.
now I had on here originally when we went through this, for C, for planning, town board approval by the town board with planning board approval. We were in on it. It isn't just going right to them, it's for us too, to overlook it. So are we
Your
not?
315, the 35115C?
Yes, that's what I originally had way back when.
So USS shall be permitted only in AR districts subject to special use permit and site plan approval by the town board with the recommendation of the planning board.
With planning board approval, yes.
Planning board recommendation.
Yeah. That's what I had in here originally. If you want that.
And that's what they got highlighted, to insert that.
Yep.
You're right, they do. Sorry.
Yep.
Just needed to read a little bit more there. Gotcha.
And then 350, did you go to that?
Yeah, yeah.
35119 was the next one. We need to clarify USSES have to meet everything in 35117 and 35119, with the exception of the setback. If you go back to 35117 and you look at the note number 2, it says the location of ground-mounted freestanding solar must comply with the setback requirements for accessory buildings. But then, when you look at 35119H, the setbacks don't match each other. So if you look at the heading for 35119, it seems like we should say with the exception of the setback requirements in section 35117.
I think if we just put in number 2, again, this is kind of thick with that, but the location of a ground-mounted freestanding small solar collector, small scale solar, to comply with the separate for accessory buildings. Because that's what our intent was for the ones on residential.
Yep.
And then that takes care of that, and does this apply to US? No, because then down below, we have our requirements for the large scale.
But if you're gonna build a large scale, you gotta meet every requirement under 35117. But the note number 2 is obviously not part of it because it specifically says small scale solar. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody else? If we do it that way rather than say with the exception of setback?
Yeah, if you just add that in addition to requirements, we have to put it presented, right, with the exception of the setbacks. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
This highlighted one right here?
Yeah.
Because the setbacks are identified in 8 for the large scale.
So just say with the exception of setbacks after this chapter. Right?
clarifies it.
And then you think in addition to that, we should go back to note 2 and small scale solar?
Yeah, I think we should spell it out.
Okay.
And that says it's approved by the planning board, just pointing out.
What was that again?
I'm sorry, if you look at note 2, you were talking about making it, small scale solar freestanding or ground mounted solar energy systems shall be permitted in all zoning districts subject to the issuance of a solar system building permit and site plan approval by the planning board pursuant to provisions of Article 7 of the code, which I think,
We're in a
I don't
different,
know if Article,
I'm in a different place than you are, I think. Where are you again?
at the end of section 119, there is a bunch of notes.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
You are,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, no problem.
Note 4, yep. We got a bunch of other things to go over in 35119. So, we're good with that one, right? We're gonna put small scale solar in note 2, and we're gonna, with the exception of setback, right? All right. Next one is 35119F.
If you go to 35119A, it gives the planning board the discretion to vary or eliminate this requirement. Does that need to be changed in the town board?
Yeah. Because that's all about USS, yes. We're only making a recommendation. Okay, so 35119F.
What do you have on that, Tom? Because I don't have any highlights in
F was on attachment I sent you guys on February 1st. Which talks about, well,
Also gives the planning board the authority.
You know, the one I got was, from you would have been 35119H.
okay.
Yeah.
So 35119F. Or, yeah, paragraph H, sorry, right? The red wording down at the bottom. With the addition of subparagraph F indicating where there are 2 or more contiguous parcels that have a USSES, the setback requirements shall not apply to the contiguous property lines between such parcels. So we're gonna add F that.
Why would that be? That page kind of go to separate. After dealing mainly with screening, landscape.
No, we're under H, but he's creating another letter.
Yeah,
Small.
Small F.
Okay. Now with it.
Yep.
Go back up to the large,
Yeah, there's a plan.
reference to the planning board. And
That's gotta be town board, right?
Which one?
F, however, comma. And then, 350-119 L1. They suggest we delete and solar power plants because we don't have a definition of solar power plant in our definitions.
We also need to eliminate in that paragraph, which have not been active in continuous instead of have not been inactive. So you're trying to say it hasn't been active.
That have not been active.
And in continuous service instead of not been inactive. If you're not inactive, correct? You're working.
So you gotta get rid of the in before active and add it after,
Yeah.
after and.
So, which have not been active and in continuous service for a period of 1 year.
Yep.
Well, and you're saying get rid of the solar power plants, right?
Yep.
Okay,
We don't want that.
because it's useless.
Get rid of it, yeah, solar power plants. 350-119 L4. Replace USSES, an independent third-party PE. It says independent party now. And also where it says planning board, gotta be town board.
And solar energy systems would use this.
Yeah. And solar plant equipment, which should say USSES equipment, right?
Yep.
And then 350-119 L4. also, where it talks about in number 4, we had a change to that I sent everybody, this one. And then they commented on that, and, second sentence where it says planning board should say town board. And then they questioned our 125%. Because, now they think that Labella had the opinion that to have 125% of the estimated cost of removal in addition to an annual increase of 2.5% a year, their feeling was we didn't need both of those. They figured their suggestion was 100% was sufficient. The only trouble with that is if the town has to hire somebody to decommission this, and they only have equal to 100% of the value, and for some reason there's an increase in the decommissioning, the only thing they're gonna have is 2.5% per year to offset that increase. Whereas if they had 125% of the value, they'd have some cushion.
Do you think it happened where Tom, the third party, like on these renewals for these things, we're gonna do another review on that?
Third,
Decommissioning bond?
yeah,
I mean, so you should be fairly good as long as someone's actively looking at it. I mean, 125 is good in the, let's say, the first 5 years maybe, because you got, but without inflation protection on it. You know, year 10 out, but if we have it as a condition of part of their special use permit, whatever, when they come in here, we have the decommissioning bond, we do reference something, we do a third party, so you should hopefully be keeping up. Because that's probably gonna be a bigger, not as the time goes forward, there's more of these projects, I mean, and all these decommissioning, now, they're still building on.
well, that's what we're talking about, the value of the bond here. And currently it says that the bond has to be based on 125% of the decommissioning cost.
Well, the one good thing with the 125 is at least they're all over the map. You got some, like you said, and you know, more forgiveness. So,
That's what our adjoining town has.
that's gonna be good.
I agree with that, yeah. Especially now, I think prices are just gonna go crazy because they're all trying to make a comeback, and not that it's gonna happen right now, but down the year, down the future,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
Nobody's really decommissioning these things yet.
no.
They're still building, they're still all new. So,
So we don't know at that time, yeah, we don't know what's gonna happen. Safe and sorry.
we have more than less.
Mhm. I mean, you could always be nice about it, give back, and if there's a difference, yes, but,
Or at least recovered.
right, we're covered. We need to be covered.
Well, most of these are a bond anyway, so it's not like it's gonna incrementally cost them that much more to assure another 25%.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not.
fairly economical.
Correct. Cover that.
That last paragraph at the bottom, their comments. Right now, it's set up with a third party professional engineer. They're suggesting that we possibly consider using a town engineer, but I'm not sure that's a third party.
He even said if the town engineer could be considered a third party, so, yeah,
I think we leave that the way we got it.
yeah, I think so.
Okay. And then section 3, 4, that's on this other sheet. And this is a duplicate of what we already talked about, really, but under 350, 19, or I'm sorry, under section 3, number 4. It talks about, currently it says the list of permitted uses. And section 3 is the schedule of use regulations. Note 4, the list of permitted uses is hereby amended to provide for USSDS as permitted use subject to special use permit and site plan approval by the town board with the recommendation of the planning board.
So that's good, right?
That's good.
Look at number 2 above.
Should that be small scale? Small scale. And also, 4 probably should add just residential only. Because 5,
Is that what, number 4 or no 4?
number 4,
No 4?
number 4,
Okay.
section 3.
Okay.
Going back to what she pointed out, point number 2. It should read the same way we have up above. Subject to site plan approved by the event. We'll be consistent with all those things.
But aren't we doing freestanding, ground mounted, aren't they
Small,
small?
you just add it small. Small scale.
And it's by us, by the planning board. So yes, small needs to be added in there.
In note 2, or in
Yes.
number 2.
Yep, number 2. number 3 need to have small in there also? So residential uses, but. It just. Same thing,
Yeah, you should say the same thing. Small scale, right?
small, yep, small solar energy.
And if you're making a distinction of all zoning districts for small scale, four are going to be consistent with only residential. Because then five. That's just a problem.
If you're gonna make 4 uses, then it has to be by the town board. Approval by the town board, so you need to decide what you're doing on 4. It's for small or
Are we under?
Section 3, yep,
Not note 4, we're talking
number 4, under section 3.
So that's, they're talking USSES, they're only permitted in agricultural residence zone. So if you mention what zones in 2, the small scale, you have to be consistent. Okay, this is in the agricultural residence before. And then like 5, it's just kind of throws it in there, because it really is confusing.
Well, five's talking about solar thermal systems. We do have a definition for that. So you can have that anywhere. So is number 4 okay the way it is?
No, number 4 is okay, yeah. Except it should say as a permitted use in the RA district, because it's only allowed in the RA district.
Yeah, well, it says that under note 4.
Yeah, it's just confusing, that's all. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, we might as well just insert that number 4 on the box, so you don't have to read that along. As a permitted use in the RA district, subject to a special use permit. It covers this.
So number 4, as a permitted use in AR districts subject, right?
So you put small scale in number 2, correct? You did that?
You did small in number 2 and small in number 3.
Okay,
But now number 4, that can be uses, correct? That's what we're talking?
that's. the big-
So shouldn't that be, well, we have solar farms, which, that's what that is. Okay. But shouldn't that be approval by the town board?
Number 4 is.
Oh, mine says planning board, sorry. I have an old one
I
evidently.
think you're looking at note 4.
No, 4.
No, you're looking at number 4, aren't you?
I was looking at number 4. I don't have a note 4. I have a note 3, a note 5, and a note 6.
Okay.
But I think by inserting the AR just in number 4, at least it's consistent, because all the other ones talk about a district, so.
Yep.
And when now we get that.
I got it right here. I can give you. Oh, you can get it on the town website, right?
Got it.
All right, so moving on to note 4. USSDS shall be permitted only in AR district, subject to, it says RA, it should be AR, subject to solar system building permit. And special use permit and site plan approval by the planning board, that should say town board.
Mhm.
Pursuant to Article 7 of the code. Now, there was a discussion about with, bless you. Lance thought we should leave that in there, that says, building, solar system building permit. He thought we should leave that in there so that if we change our fee structure, we can have one that's called solar system building permit. And that, this thing I put together didn't have that, so we gotta leave that part of it the way it is. And then, next one is well, were there any of these notes that we wanted to change? The other notes?
Can somebody tell me what Article 12 of the Town of Berry Code is?
Oh, that's 12, not 7, sorry. Article 12. Article 12 is the solar zoning, I believe.
Okay, so that's where the local law ended up being put in the code?
Well, the wind energy overlay zone is Article 11. So I'm assuming that
Yep, so it's Article 12.
solar is 12.
Okay, all right, great.
But I don't know if anybody,
I couldn't,
I'm not sure if they, on the town website, did they identify it as 12?
No, he says no.
I do the website, so no.
Not on there, it's 12? So it's hard to refer to it as 12 when 12 doesn't exist.
I will check that out.
Or isn't it what we're doing here? This is what we're deciding on, so,
Yeah, but we'd have to add Article 12 at the beginning of the whole solar thing in order to
Yeah.
make it applicable, right?
Yep.
Okay.
and that's what it says on here. Local law shall be entitled as a local law amending to the town code to establish a new Article 12 entitled Solar Energy Systems and Facilities.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
At the very
That makes
beginning,
sense.
section one title,
This creates.
this is creating it, yes.
so we really don't have to,
You
we can, when they redo the book, they can put it in Article 12, right?
Yep.
We're talking about getting that done, but it's just talk right now. So I'll say a few months.
That's good, it gives us a little time here. Get it set. Get everybody's opinion in on it.
350, 119L4, we talked about already.
Mhm.
And, we didn't talk about this other one, which is the 350, 125, 123, post agreement.
350, 123.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we do.
Yep.
yeah.
Everybody else ready?
I have it.
I got it. You signed this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at John.
I think it was under Modelo proposed changes solar law, yeah. Say what? Yeah, 123.
Yeah.
Is that at the bottom, red, that's a comment. They will,
Actually, this is a good, I think it sounds good. It gives us that flexibility, we can still do the 125% bond, plus we have this. And it can be, the amount can be, reviewed every year by the town board if they decide they want more. There's also escrow agreement, we pay engineering and legal costs, so they would be also, is that part of? It says that that was consistent with the town of Shelby regulation.
Yep. Their recommendation is that we consider a provision that provides the town with a choice of one of the following, but
Is this
And then
prohibited?
council is ever having a first agreement, escrow, manual maintenance plan, you could just include it. You're all
Yeah,
straight.
yeah. I was gonna say, is it gonna make it prohibitive to somebody looking at it to come in, but it certainly gives us an option to have enough of everything that we need. Doesn't limit us.
Should be able to discourage it. Anybody coming in.
Doesn't say what these, doesn't say what the fees are gonna be. It
No.
only makes a suggestion that there's gonna be
Mhm.
these things. So, I was thinking leave it the way it is.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good to me. I especially like that host community agreement. Compensate the town for expenses or impacts on the community. I think that covers the town then. It should. Like you said, fees, we don't know because it could be
Right.
not much of anything, but I mean, at least it's something here for, you know, the option. Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
How about you guys out in the back?
Looks good to me.
So, on these changes, we can't make until we have our regular meeting, right?
Unless you have a call a special board meeting.
Well, our meeting's before the town board meeting.
Yeah, when is our meeting?
And you know, they-
First Monday?
15th, it'll be
Sorry?
8, no, it'll be 8.
what would be the-
I will not be here for the board for our meeting next month.
I don't know if they would want it for their workshop. When's their workshop?
The first,
You know, they could go over it. You don't have to make an official recommendation, you could just say this. And they could have it for the workshop. And then on Monday night, before their meeting, we can make that official recommendation. I don't know, it's a thought,
At least to move it along.
yeah. Little preview.
Okay. So you wanna have it to them by March 1st? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's when their workshop is.
we're gonna be working on a lot of things for AES, solar,
So we might not have time for this too, but
I don't know.
if they have it in advance, each one, they could be looking it over. Just a thought.
Send something to them.
As long as they all get it, so that they have some time to look it
Maybe
over,
they're-
they don't say that they can't, they didn't look it over.
They might want to change.
And that would give you guys time at your meeting to change it.
How would you make those changes? Just insert them in red?
Maybe list them, you know, in numerical order, and then put it in a document into the solar law,
But
maybe in
not,
red or something.
can you put them next to the paragraph that they go with or no? In red?
It'd be hard,
You didn't, because you have to have it on PDF, right?
yeah. I mean, I can do it, but it's,
Didn't we have it on PDF?
Yeah, because it has to go on the website as a PDF.
Okay.
So I would convert it to a PDF from a Word document.
Okay. If it was a PDF, you could do it right next to the section.
Okay. But I know Tom had talked to me today, and he said he would like to see it listed out, you know, like you had done here with this original one.
Yeah.
Just list them all out and then revamp, go in and revamp the lot size in a different color or bold or italicized or something.
Well, is that something you can do and send to everybody?
I will try it.
Okay.
At what point does Wayne need to look at this?
I don't think he needs to look at it until the town board sends it to the county. 'Cause that's the next thing they're gonna do is, once we give it to them, if they get it for their workshop on the first, they'll review it. And then they can hopefully vote on it on the 8th, send it to the county.
Sean likes to have public hearings before it goes to county.
He had public hearings for wind and business and AR before, right? So we're not sure what, if he does it like he did before, he may have it before. Okay. When's our meeting? 8th?
The
When's the town board meeting? The workshop's the first.
10th.
Okay. So we're gonna make our official recommendation on the 8th, and then they'll do it on the 10th. Okay. Now, Labella wanted to know, the guy from Labella called me up and wanted to know if we wanted an official report with a letter and so forth, and I told him we just needed comments, and that's the comments I emailed you. And I wrote down everything he told me to,
Only what the cheap version.
but so that's okay. The other thing was I don't know where the town stands with where the town board stands with the Secretary of State and filing of the zoning changes.
Maureen says we don't have to do that, because it wasn't. I can't think how she put it. It was only a local law, it wasn't a law. If I'm quoting her right.
Okay.
Guys, this is Susan, and I hate to butt in, but the requirement under New York State law is that a local law is not effective unless and until it's filed with the Secretary of State of New York. So any local law or amendment to a local law of any kind has to be filed with the Secretary of State under the municipal home rule law.
Well, then somebody better let Maureen know about that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to send a copy of the law to anybody who wants to look at it.
Yeah, why don't you send us that, well, just so we can pass that on?
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
It's a municipal home rule law. I'm sure Lance has it as well.
Okay. Well, next is the battery law. So that was thinking too.
Are you guys gonna have any questions for us on the project itself tonight?
Not to my knowledge, right now.
This communication, including attachments, may contain information that
Not at this time.
Not this one? Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, yeah, and hey, Tom, it's Adam, just one additional question there. So, just in terms of our project and application, would the meeting on the 8th be what the planning board at least is what you're currently targeting for recommendation related to the approval? I just want to make sure I'm kind of following along with what you guys are envisioning as the plan or path forward for our project. Sorry to get it just off topic.
Yeah, my understanding after talking to the town attorney is that we can't review your project until we get the zoning clarified.
Okay, so it'd even be related, even the board cannot make the recommendation prior to the zoning law being amended.
Right, we need to get the zoning law clarified so that we can, have that decisive and who reviews the application and so forth.
Okay, all right, my understanding, I know I was talking to Teresa, was that the recommendation would not necessarily be withheld, all of it is a recommendation, it's not necessarily an approval, but we will take that up with the appropriate parties and figure it out. But thank you.
Okay. All right, do we want to continue with the battery law tonight or save it for the next meeting?
We make a motion to save it for the next meeting. No. What my workshop motion? Or opinion, whatever it's worth.
Okay,
There's no such rushing through it.
sounds good. All right. We don't need a motion for adjournment either then, right? Or do we?
Well, I'll move to adjourn and just put it in there.
All in favor?
Hey,
Second, five.
almost.
Take your pick.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, good.